Okay, so what we're going to look at today is the power of visualization and imagery. So it's going to be from chapter 14, page 73 in the book. And also the other workbooks I sent you has got some details on that as well. If you don't have them, then obviously let me know. But we'll crack on now and sort of go from there. So every athlete, pretty much every athlete you can think of works on rehearsal. It's huge. I mean, pretty much you probably hear me on the radio. A lot of people I interview in sports, in football, a lot of them visualize. A lot of the athletes I've worked with over years, world-class athletes, they use it. Helps you be confident, focused, more relaxed. Athletes use visualization for a number of reasons, but predominantly what we're going to focus on here tonight, guys, is going to be mental rehearsal of a previous best performance or future desired outcome, to focus on how you want the game to go, to focus on the outcome. It's going to be the key. Okay, to keep calm, the nerves before a big event, or just to wind down, guys, afterwards when the adrenaline's been pumping. It helps the athlete stay focused, relaxed, calm, and confident, which are essential things. So researchers found visualization can have a big effect, guys, on performance. Visualization and imagery can have give you a huge advantage over the opposition. It gives you confidence to perform certain skills and to be able to perform under pressure. The most effective visualization includes every vivid experience. So what you do is you create the experience as close as you can and rehearse it. The brain likes familiarity. So for many years, I've got some of the world's best athletes, footballers, sports people. I've even delivered training to the likes of the Air Force, and visualization is huge in businesses and many other areas too. And even injury, guys. There's been players I've worked with who've been injured, and they haven't been able to train, and they've done rehearsal on technical side as well. So it's really, really important component to be in control. And whenever I have my athletes come to see me every year, for example, the footballers, I have a stable of players these days, I say, get the fixture list and visualize every game, every performance, visualize against every player, because that way you build a pathway in their brain. But I'll talk more about that as you go along. Many years ago, there's a research study I read. It was about from Chicago University of Chicago. The researchers looked at an experiment in basketball players. They divided 3 groups and tested each group as they took numerous penalty shots. The groups were given different instructions. Group 1 did not practice 30 days. 2 practiced penalty shots for 30 days physically. 3 practiced only in their mind rehearsal. At the end of 30 days, the 3 groups were tested again, and Group 1 showed no improvement, as probably would be expected. Group 2 showed 24%, and Group 3, pretty impressive, 23%, considering they didn't practice physically, just mentally. Imagine they practice mentally and physically. So it's a research study I came across. There's been loads more since then, many, many more. And many of the experiences I've had are working with players that have rehearsed to get the best they can. It's just, it was a study I sort of read, a research paper many, many years ago. So imagery can work by using biofeedback devices that measure body stress, by imaging pleasant and unpleasant scenes. You can actually hear and see the levels of stress in the body and change. So for example, you've got a big game coming up. There's biofeedback devices these days. You can sort of see the adrenaline change. So visualizing before a big match to overcome stressful anxious situations, build confidence. With mental rehearsal, the mind and body can become trained to actually perform the skill imagined to give you the best chance to achieve the outcome. So you've got huge pressure, you're taking a penalty in a big cup final, and you've got all this expectation, pressure, taking the penalty, the free kick, and what you do is you rehearse it mentally. So you've probably seen that video I did with that lad, and you see, if you haven't seen it, you can email me, where he takes a free kick, and we work really, really heavily on rehearsal and doing a cue to get in the right state as well. So visualization includes 5 senses: sights, feelings, auditory, olfactory, gustatory, taste. Using the mind, the athletes can call up these images over and over. enhancing skills through practice, repetition, or rehearsal, as close as you can get it to the real event. Visualization can be used for anyone looking to focus on a positive outcome. So you really go to process. That's all you can do. I've said this before. You've got a penalty to take, a free kick. All you can do is focus on the process. Sometimes the keeper does a world-beating save. Sometimes things don't go the way you want to go. But all you can do is the best you can do. So I want you to sort of do a couple of exercises now to sort of show you and illustrate how we do rehearsal. This is not the technique as such, but we will do the technique. So if you're comfortable closing your eyes, feel free to do so. With your eyes closed, I want you to get a picture in your mind of a good performance, guys. Okay, think of a good performance that you had. And take your time, think of a good performance, and notice what you see. And as you focus on that good performance, notice what you see, any colors. Perhaps you can see the shirts, the referee, your colleagues, the people you're playing with, what you hear. Perhaps you can hear the sound of the whistle, the sound of running, feet on the grass, someone calling your name. Notice what you feel. Perhaps you feel the grass under your studs, your feet running, moving across the pitch. Perhaps you feel someone sort of grabbing your shirt. What you smell, perhaps the sports drink, the freshly mown grass, or perhaps the muscle rub in the change room. And what you taste, perhaps a sports drink. Perhaps you feel thirsty, or perhaps you can sort of taste generally you might be perspiring, and and just sort of focus on that and sort of recreating that. Okay, and now in your own time, in your own pace, you come back to the here and now. It's just an exercise. I'm sort of teeing things up for later. And equally in saying that, just while we're on the subject, sometimes people have these bad experiences in sport. So for example, they missed a penalty in the past, or they missed a free kick, or had a bad game, or against a certain opposition. We've all had someone in the past that we play against, I'm sure. Well, maybe not you guys, but there's one person you think, okay, not him or her again, someone who sort of dominates against you. And once again, close your eyes and notice the picture you've got of that person that you've played against in the past, or that mildly bad performance, where you see any colors, where you hear any sounds and feelings, and just imagine pushing it away, turning the sound down, draining the colors, letting the feelings go. And perhaps you can hear a tune you enjoy in the background hearing, and just push the image away as small as you can. Okay, so it's just a basic exercise, and sometimes we can work with these what we call submodalities. There's some more information on that in the book anyway. But the idea is, I've had people who, for example, they sort of, and this is another exercise we'll do on another day. Sometimes we perceive the situation more than what it is. And there was a sprinter I was working with one time, and every time he'd get to about 70 meters, there was this competitor that would always run him down. And when I asked him how he saw the competitor, he said he saw him really, really tall, a lot taller than what he was, hearing his feet pounding on the track, and he could hear him breathing down his neck. So we sort of worked on that. Imagine pushing it away, drain the colors down. But that's an exercise we're going to do on another day. But for now, it's to sort of illustrate these images. So the images can be negative as well, and we can deal with them as well. And when you think about it, sometimes our imagination plays tricks on us. So the anxiety about winning a match, scoring a goal, in golf, for example, missing a putt, with this sort of steady worry, other negative images can halt our physiology. And we see that sometimes, guys, you see someone take a penalty and they go to type under pressure. The technique goes completely out the window. And that's not good. We want to control the images in our mind to be as effective as we can in sport. It's really important that we do that. Imagination, I use a metaphor, it's like a spirited, powerful horse. If it's untamed, it's dangerous, it'll run wild. But if you learn to tame your imagination, and purposeful directed, then it can be tremendously powerful in taking to where you want to go. And all the top athletes do that. So imagination can be a really powerful tool to combat tension, anxiety, sports anxiety. You can use visualization to harness the energy of your imagination. It doesn't take long, probably a few weeks, guys. I've practiced the master technique. And really you want to visualize 2-3 times a day, just before you go to bed. It's useful because the mind's quite receptive. And when you get up in the morning, and perhaps even after training, sort of technique, it's really useful to do. So how effective is imagery? Well, it's really effective, guys. It's been found to be effective for athletes. Imagery from a relaxation point of view. So there's some techniques in the book that we sort of focus on for relaxation. It can lower the heart rate and sports anxiety. Also, obviously, pathways in the brain. We're going to touch on tonight, but equally insane that you can use this, guys, if you've got public speaking, an exam coming up. Obviously, the match is what we're going to focus on, and it can be useful to relax after a game. So I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, for example, a sports scientist gave me a call one time from one of the biggest clubs in the world and said, okay, after Champions League, we've got some issues. The players' cortisol levels are really high, and we know cortisol is not good in high levels, but that's another story for another day. So we're flying back Wednesday nights, Tuesday nights. The players are a little bit tired. The cortisol's building up, lack of sleep. What can we do? The minor things you can do physically, you do like, swimming and nutrition, but my role is the mind. And I said, there's research suggesting that doing relaxation can help. Whether the players take it on board or not is up to them. I can only show them the research, and then the ball is in their court. So that's sort of my role. People call me up from all sort of, walks of life in sport and business and other things, obviously. And basically, where this is concerned, we're going to focus on, guys, for your technique. And I mentioned what's useful for technique. To give you an example, I may have mentioned this before, many years ago, a young lad, his dad asked me if I could work with him because he couldn't train physically very often. He had a condition called Osgood-Schlatter's. I don't know a great deal about the condition. I'm not sort of a physio medical person, but his knees would get inflamed, something along them lines. And he couldn't train as often as he would like to. And the physio had him on some sort of recovery plan for that. So I worked with him because he was 18 and it was his final apprentice year. They're going to make a decision. So what I did with him basically was visualization on his technique. Young James, just visualization, young Jay. And basically, it was interesting really because his technique had improved immensely. Obviously, physically, he sort of had a lot to do work-wise, but they gave him a contract at Mac at school at the time. And basically, I believe so anyway. And I'm not saying that he got it because of me, but it just shows that how important visualization is. So he couldn't train physically as often as he'd like to, so we visualize. But, you can do both together. So we're going to do, the key thing here is, guys, you visualize the technique. Kicking a ball, free kick, penalty, tackling, for example, is a good one. I was watching today a couple of games, Super Sunday football. I've been watching games today. I study them, the games, and sort of have a look in between doing other things, obviously, family things and other things as well. Interviewing people on radio, other stuff to improve. Because I was watching some games, and just watching sort of, you watch the technical side. I was really interested in one game today, how the Juventus game. I was interested in how Lazio would mark Ronaldo. He's coming back into the game now. He's been out for a little bit. So I was just sort of curious to see. No stake in it. Don't know any of the players first, nothing like that. Just wanted to have a look and see. Obviously, and it's really interesting, really, sort of see technically. Players and what they do. It's really interesting, really. Sometimes you watch games for these reasons, and like yesterday's game, the Everton versus the United game was really interesting because when Everton scored the first goal, you thought, okay, how are they going to respond to that? Because arguably you could say it was poor marking, but they responded really well, United. But a few nights previous. We saw, I think they'd be the first to admit the defending was, schoolboy stuff, but they've bounced back since then. So it's really interesting to see, and I watch these games passively sometimes, in that way. But the key thing is for you to think about, well, what would I do as a player as well? If I was playing a game against some of these players, well, what would I do? How would I play the game? The basic outline. So it could be a technique, and you watch some of the players' technique, defending, taking a free kick, whatever. So think of a technique you want to improve, which is quite useful. It could be defending, standing the person up, or describe a skill. I want you to think of a skill, guys, that you want to improve. And I want you to be the best you can be at that skill. Okay? It could be a complex skill, like taking a free kick, a goal. And I know how fluent someone is in a technique just by speaking to them. How do I know? Because the way they describe, if I ask somebody, and you can do this technique yourself, guys, if you ask yourself, if you had to teach somebody else to do what you do, how would you describe it? One time I was with a tennis player, and she was struggling with a backhand. And I said to her, if you were teaching me to do a backhand, how would you describe what to do? And she couldn't. And I knew straight away there was an issue there. She had a mental block. Because I said, how do you do a forehand or a serve? Easy enough. So think about it, guys. If you were coaching a younger player, or any age for that matter, how would you describe the technique? And that's usually a good way, because you've got to visualize it in the mind first of all. And like I said before, look at players, what they do. So it could also be visualizing the game itself, but that we're going to focus on a bit more later on in the program, the game itself. Today we're going to focus on technique, but you can do the game too. And the way you do the game plan, guys, is what I do with my players, truth be told, is if they haven't been to the ground before, then we make a job of going there. Okay, so we go there because the brain likes familiarity. And I get them to feel it, to feel if they've been there before, to feel what it's like, but also to visualize, like you become like a script writer of a film. What you do is you think of different permutations. It could be hot, it could rain, it could be cool. Use your senses to describe the experience to every detail, like you're making a film. And that's the key. Any feelings, any body responses, any emotional responses. If we go up 1-0, if we go down 1-0, just all permutations. And that's what I do with the players when we do like a visualization. And you'll know if it's a player, sometimes that's what me, because you'll see them in the preparation. When they warm up, they're focused on what they've got to do. Because at that point there, it's key. The warm-up is key. Some players, when they warm up, they talk about other things because they get a little bit nervous. And I can see the players who are nervous because they talk about what they watched on TV, they talk about other stuff. But for me, the warm-up is not just physical, it's a mental preparation. And the opposite man, or if for the women's team, as a woman, for example. So who you're playing against, and you focus on that person. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to warm up, and you get into the movements and physically and mentally. But you can do that night before the game. And you might think, well, if you've played the game once in your mind, you've already got an advantage on the other player. But I'm going to teach you in more detail on this program to visualize the game. Okay, I'll teach you in more detail, how we visualize the game. So, and we refine the script. So from the point of view, guys, of a technique, so I'll teach you the game in more detail as we go along. For now, I'm going to do the script. So I want to choose an area you want to improve. It could be heading the ball. It could be kicking left foot. It could be kicking right foot. And if you're right-footed and you're kicking left foot, at one point you couldn't kick right, but you learned, so you can learn with your left, and vice versa. Okay, you can. These days, it's not good enough to be a one-footed player, or you've got to head the ball, you've got to be a complete player. So think of an area you want to improve, and what you do is you write a script, okay? And the script is basically the technique. You refine the script. I'm going to sort of show you briefly, shortly, what I mean by that. When you got a suitable script, you can record it on audio. Maybe they don't do tapes no more, you've got MP3, and you can use it for imagery. in training too. So you go over it. So if I practice my free kick 50 times in my mind, and you do it once on the playing field, or 20 times, we both practice our free kick 20 times on the pitch, and then I go home and practice 50 times in my mind, over the space of a week, if I do it every day, I've practiced 350 times more than you. You know, if my maths isn't good. But the point being is that, and that's course of a year, 1,000 times more than you. And that's the key. You know, correct practice is the key to it. So breaking it down, and then you sort of are really clear in terms of the basic components. Describe preparation. So, for example, in the script, the players around you, the free kick, the goal post, the keeper, anything you can think of. Okay, this is free kick, you can do other things too. Then you look at the script, and you sort of, you know, this is an example, guys, and I'll do an example of you now, very briefly. Just for simplicity, we'll do kicking the ball. Okay, so if you sort of close your eyes again, guys, we'll do the an example. So as you close your eyes, I want to focus on taking a free kick. So go into a really calm, confident state. Think of a time you took a free kick in the past, you were confident, you did something in football, you were confident, or something you're confident doing, as you see, hear, and feel. And imagine now moving into the ball on an angle. Keep your head down, your foot moving towards the ball and pointing in the direction you want the ball to go. Arms out for balance, head down, strike. And as you strike the ball, you can hear the sound of the back of the net. And notice the feelings, the sounds, smells, the taste, and perhaps you can hear people. And you can add some detail, perhaps the crowd, as and when we get crowds again, if you get some crowd who are watching, and look at the point of the goal where you want the ball to go. Position the keeper, flies past the keeper. Okay, and in your own time, your own pace, you can come back here and now. So that's just the basic one, guys, and you can add to that. So the things you can add in the script is I feel the grass under my feet. I see the ball clearly on the grass. I focus on where I want the ball to go. I move into the correct position in order to strike the ball. I move towards the ball on an angle. So these are all the key things of timing. And it's really important you work with your coaches. You've got some of the best coaches, guys. You really do. You've got some great coaches. You really do, you know. The director, Tony, he can ping a ball. You know, he can strike a ball. Go up to Tony and ask him, how do you strike a ball? That can be your first job today. And he might be a bit of banter, you know, football banter, but Tony is serious, and he's serious about you doing the best he can. And basically, you know, you sort of get an idea of what he does. Now, if he can do it, you can do it. It just takes practice, okay? And the key thing, ask him technically what he does. You know, technically, what he does in terms of technique. Okay, I'm not saying that you don't copy his technique, you adjust it for yourself and you rehearse it. And if you want to see more, email me, I'll show you the link to the guy I helped to practice for the free kick. Many people practice free kicks, but one guy, just to sort of show you, was on the YouTube, and you can see it, and that's the sort of key. And you might think it's only one component of the game, but that's okay. You build on that. That's what you do. You know, you build on that. That's only one component, but obviously, you know, you can build on that as you go along. You know, you sort of look at role models. Imagery can be used for any situation, even other sports like golfing, snooker, tennis. It puts you in a driver's seat. That's the key to create the outcome you want. Give you the best chance to succeed. That's all we can ask you to do. Okay. It's what you make of it. Guided imagery is not mind control. It's a process. We do it anyway. However, rather than leaving it to chance and let the mind control you, you control the mind. You consciously control the mind. What are you going to do? You know, imagery techniques allow for personal changes by changing and growing with you. The more adept you become at imagery, the stronger your unconscious mind grows, the more pathways. So I said earlier before, if we both have the same ability, guys, you and me have the same ability at a certain technique, and we train on the training ground to the point that if we train anymore, we might pick up an injury. Then we go home and we decide, we visualize. If I visualize even once every day in 1 year, I've done it 365 times more than you. The chances are I'm going to get better than what you are. And that's the sort of key. If I've got the desire and motivation to do it, that's the whole idea, is for you to be the best you can be. And that's all anyone can ask you to do. I said earlier, we're going to do this process in more detail, guys, for a match later on in the program. But for now, it's about technique. So the first step I want you to do is choose one area of your game you want to improve. One technique, left foot, right foot, heading the ball, passing it. Doesn't matter, it's one thing. And then what I want you to do is to find someone who's very good at doing that, or speak to one of the coaches and be very clear about the technique. Then I want you to do a script, practice physically, and then practice mentally. Every day, a few times a day, and just watch how much you improve in a month if you do that. If you did that just for, right foot or defending, or just watch how much you improve. And at your age, the beauty is your brain is a lot more malleable or receptive than what it is at my age, for example. So you're going to improve a lot quicker, which is the key. So that's going to be a goal. You're going to sort of see and look for improvements. And this is a process I mentioned earlier that I've done with many, many top athletes and footballers over many years. And I'm not saying by doing this, it's the only thing you do, but it gives you a huge advantage over the opposition by doing it. So if you want any more resources on this area, you can drop me an email. I've got some resources, a few links here. I'll send you a link as well too, guys. You can send that through. I've got some audios as well around rehearsal that are quite useful too, in a couple of videos here and there. But give it a go. Let's get the week off to a flying start. Get yourself on the front foot, guys, this week. Sunday evening here, Monday morning where you guys are. Get on that front foot, guys, and keep going forward. Keep focused on the direction you want to go and seize the moment. Just get as much as you can out of every training session. Be there, be present, be in the moment, guys. This is it. This is your time. Give it your best shot, guys. So it's been great morning. So I'll let you guys get on with what you're doing. I'll sort of upload the segment for you guys as well. And, have a fantastic week. As always, if I can help in any way, everything we've covered, drop me an email. Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed this session today. Thanks, guys.